Hey, welcome back to the Big Rant Show. As always, thank you for joining me. If you could, hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the little bell as well, and we'll get right to it. Now, this is a very tragic story. It's something tragic that happened on Thursday afternoon down in Gilchrist County, Florida. Two officers were gunned down while they were enjoying a meal. And the shooter was later found dead when other officers arrived at the scene. The two officers that were murdered by this coward, as identified by Sheriff Robert D. Schultz, were officers Sergeant Noel Ramirez, 29, who was a father and a husband, and Deputy Taylor Lindsay, 25, who had been on the force for about 3 years and was said to have not been married but had a girlfriend. Now, this took place while they were trying to eat. According to Schultz, he said these were two of the best. They were men of integrity. They were men of loyalty. They're God-fearing and loved what they did. These two were, from all reports that I have found, were really good cops. You know, they didn't do anything crazy. They weren't bad. You know, they really were good cops from what I've read. Not just from the officer, but from what I've seen on other posts around social media. These guys were good people that just loved doing their job of being out there serving and protecting. And this guy just decided, about 3 p.m., this guy just decided he'd walk up, stand outside the window, and shoot them through the window. All they did was try to enjoy a lunch. And this jackass did what he did. As normal, I will not give you the name of the shooter. I don't believe they should be glorified. But we really have to have a discussion in this country about what's going on. There is no reason in the world that police officers just sitting down for a peaceful meal should be shot and killed. There is no reason for it. There is no justification for it. I don't care if you're mad that some cops did something to piss you off or some cops did something wrong somewhere else around the country. I don't care. There is no reason to go shooting innocent people for no damn reason. And I understand people being upset about some things that have taken place in this country with law enforcement. But not all people in law enforcement do the same things. Now, one problem I saw on Facebook, one thing was people going around, where's the outrage? Minutes after the story broke that it happened. Where's the outrage? There's plenty of outrage. All you have to do is listen. All you have to do is pay attention. Plenty of outrage. There's no reason officers should be getting shot for no reason at all. But don't sit there on Facebook acting like you're all big and bad telling me, oh, where's the outrage? Where's the outrage, huh? If you're so outraged and you don't see any outrage going on, why don't you take your happy little ass outside and go down and protest? Organize a rally. If nothing else, at least make your voice heard somewhere. Via Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, something. Don't just say, where's the outrage? Explain your outrage. Show your outrage. Peacefully protest. Start a protest outside of a media outlet if they're not putting the names out there. If they're not talking about these people being ambushed and murdered. I've sat there and scoured CNN's website. There was no talk of it. Yeah. CNN dropped the ball there. I went through all the U.S. stuff that they had on their headlines, and there's nothing there. So, organize a protest. Organize a rally. Let them know. Put it out there. The reason so many people are supporting the kids of Parkland, Florida, and the March for Our Lives is because they got up and did something. They stood up and did something. So if you're tired of this happening and you don't think the news media is covering it, at least get on YouTube and make a video about it. At least maybe go on Facebook Live. If you have any idea how to organize a protest or a rally to support our police officers in this country, then do it. Because I have no clue where to start. But the bigger problem is gun violence in this country. It's taking the lives of children. It's taking the lives of adults. The other day, a child accidentally got a hold of their father's gun because he was negligent with where he left it. And no one else in the car knew he had it. And a 3-year-old shot her mother. Now, it looks like the mother will survive that one. But unfortunately, in this case, there are two more officers, not going home to their families. They will never go home. And for what? For what? Because some asshole with a gun decided they would shoot them for having lunch? People should not be shot for having lunch. I don't care if they're civilians. I don't care if they're military personnel. I don't care if they're cops. Nobody should be shot for simply enjoying a meal. No one. Yes, I have been critical of some police officers in previous videos. But all in all, I support law enforcement. I support our police officers. Because I know that most of them don't do bad things. Most of them just do the best they can to try to protect and serve their communities. That's all they are trying to do. Sometimes they make mistakes. Sometimes there's just bad people. But there's no excuse to go gunning down police officers. This is just wrong. There is no excuse for it. And to any of you out there that want to make an excuse for it, what does that say about you? You want to sit there and be upset? You want to be mad at a cop for shooting a civilian that happens to be unarmed? You got to be mad about this too. You can't just sit there and be mad about one or the other. It's not an either or thing to me. I can be mad that a cop shot an unarmed person 26 times in their grandmother's backyard. I can be mad about that. I can be very mad about that. But at the same time, I can be very upset and very angry that 2 officers were gunned down for absolutely nothing. Either way you go, it's a terrible thing and a crime that is just reprehensible. It's something that should not happen. But unfortunately, we let gun nuts run wild in this country. We let every yahoo buy a gun. Doesn't matter how crazy they are. Doesn't matter how many threats they've made against law enforcement or against other people or schools. We allow anyone to buy a gun. And this is the result. We've got to do more to curb gun violence in this country. We've got to do more to explain to people that shooting cops does not solve your problem. It actually makes it worse. If you're shooting cops, you're going to make other cops scared. And they're going to be more willing to fire first and ask questions later. So if what you're trying to do, if you think you're going to sit there and stop, these shootings that happen with police officers sometimes against civilians by shooting officers, you're not. You're going to make them a little faster on the trigger. At least that's what I've been seeing. Because it seems like the more people have attacked cops, the more shootings we've had. Because they don't know. They don't know what your intention is. And they assume you have a gun. Because they hear all these stories and they see their buddies get gunned down for not acting first. So if you think you're trying to make it better, you're not. If you don't care that these two officers were gunned down while eating lunch, what does that really say about you? If you want to know where the outrage is, it's right here. There is no excuse for taking of innocent lives. There is no excuse to go around shooting officers just because you're mad at what some officer did somewhere else in some other country or some other state or city or whatever. These two officers were good officers. They were just doing their job. And I'm very glad that we don't have to worry about putting the shooter on trial. I'm glad the man decided he would take his own life. Because I am glad that our taxpayers aren't having to pay for it. But unfortunately, these two officers lost their lives. So if you want to ask where the outrage is, it's right here at the Big Rant Show. I don't understand this. I don't understand how people go around shooting officers. It doesn't make any damn sense to me. But it doesn't have to be an either-or situation. You can be supportive of unarmed people getting shot. You can also be supportive of good police officers that are just doing their job. You don't have to, just because you support people that were arrested because of a racist store manager in Philadelphia, doesn't mean you can't be supportive of two police officers that were gunned down in Florida. To the families and friends of these two officers that were murdered the other day, my deepest condolences. I am so tired of having to make videos over and over again about about victims of gun violence. And this time it just so happens to be two police officers. One a 7-year veteran of the force, and the other a 3-year. One that had been on the force for 3 years. A father, a husband, and a boyfriend not going back home to their families, their loved ones. And I don't know what else to say about it. I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to organize a rally. I don't know where you get the funding for that kind of thing. I don't know how you get... I really don't. I'm not the best at knowing how to do that kind of stuff. But something has to be done. And in the comments down below, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about these officers. And what you think about the coward that shot them. And if you're one of those that are worried about the outrage not being big enough, or not being out there enough, maybe you could explain to me, what you would like to do to get this out there more. I'm covering the story because I didn't see it covered as much as it should be. So I'm trying to let my voice be heard on this issue. And I'm trying to let my voice be heard on this exact news story that's not being played around all that much. I mean, this happened to be in the Washington Post, and that's one reason that I'm able to give you some of the details, is thankfully the Washington Post covered it. Other places where I tried to find information on it, like CNN, didn't have much on it. And to me, CNN, that's just disheartening. These officers deserve to go home as much as anybody else. They deserve to still be breathing. They deserve to still be alive. But because of some yahoo with a gun, they're dead. This has been the Big Rant Show. I've been your host, Jacob Keck. I'll see you down the road. and pray for the families of these two fallen officers.